So the next important feature that I want to go over are stances. What makes a character unique for the characters that have these stances and how to base your gameplay around them. Because that's kind of the point for most characters that were given things like this. You're supposed to use them a lot. They put some good stuff in there and they gave you different ways to access it based on the gameplay. So I think those are always a big focus. Characters like Hwoarang, he's always in quote a stance. It's just like you got to learn a flow to it. In this case with Jun, she has 3 discrete stances that she enters and exits as necessary. So I think those are all very important. So I want to cover those so you always have those, again, locked and loaded in your memory. So when the opportunities arise, oh yeah, I could do Genjutsu from there or blah, blah, blah. You already know what to do. You already know what is available in those situations. These are a little different than they were the last time around. In Tag 2, she basically had like 3 or 4 attacks that you could just go into stance from. They changed them around a little bit. So she has this new stance now, Miyare, that kind of shares the paradigm with Genjutsu. She has a couple of moves now. Back to 1, you hold forward, goes into Genjutsu. You hold back, goes into Miyare. So they have that sort of front and back. Izumo was completely different. Forget what you knew about going into the Izumo stance, totally different. So we'll get to that one in a little bit. But let's start with Genjutsu. This stance you can do on its own by just pressing forward 3+4. What's nice about this is it automatically parries lows and it regenerates Jun's health. It's hard to say how much, but she gets a chunk of recoverable gray health back whenever you low parry with this. So that's pretty sweet all around. If you see a string like Kazuya does, like that 1, 2, 4, block the 1, 2, and then boom, get that free health back for you. Very important. In the Genjutsu stance, these are all pretty simple. They just kind of have like one of everything. You have a 1 attack, which is that low. Counter hit, you get a little bit of a knockdown. Genjutsu 2 is now a power crush that does that on hit. That was a grip of damage if you noticed. It's -13 on block because it is a mid power crush. So if they just block that, it's trouble for you, but whatever. The amount of damage you get, totally worth it. Genjutsu 3-2. This is a new follow-up. She always had that little trapping knee there to force the opponent to crouch. This is a natural combo. So that's kind of a neat little thing. Nice chunk of damage from that. Also mid-mid. And she has 4, which is this homing high attack. It's plus on block. So +4 is kind of nice to just throw on somebody if they weren't really like being proactive about things. They're just going to see what you want to do. Dropping a +4 on them and then doing something else is actually pretty good. The last thing that's new is during heat, she can do 2+3. She has a unique heat smash. Just to demonstrate, when you enter heat mode, you now have a universal button, 2+3, does that, right? Just a huge, like, finish out heat mode smasher attack. However, when she's in Genjutsu, she has a unique one. Does that. Most characters have exactly 1 heat smash. It's a universal button, 2+3, and that's it. You map it to L and you're done. She has one during Genjutsu stance, so just remember that. So that's all there is to Genjutsu. A low, a mid that does a ton of damage, another mid, and a frame trap. That's kind of it. You can cancel into crouch, stop if you want to. Also a little bit dirty. You know, if you think every time you go for Genjutsu, you go for that stupid low, right? We can do this cancel and then go low anyway, right? Stuff like that is always pretty good. As far as ways to go into Genjutsu, they're limited now. We mentioned back 2-1 and then hold forward. No need for buttons. Forward 2 also has it now. Forward 2 used to just be that string or that string. Now you can cancel or stop the first hit, forward 2, into Genjutsu stance, Miyare as well. That's actually really good. So what this creates is an opportunity to go into that stance. If this gets blocked and you go into stance, you're +1. They can't interrupt everything you do with a jab if they were thinking about it like that. So be careful, but you do have some options, right? You have that power crush. Otherwise, if this hits and you go into stance like that, you're going to be +16 and you can pretty much get whatever you want. They can't stop you from doing any of these things. They kind of have to eat that mix up. So always remember that. The advantage you have going into stance matters. If you hit them into stance, your mix up is pretty much free. If they get blocked, you might have to be careful. So that's why they gave her a power crush. The cool thing though is if they start getting proactive about this, oh, she keeps going to that stance. I'm going to jab her out of it every time, right? If they get counter hit by the second hit of that, it's a launcher now. So if they get jabby, you can let this rip every so often and counter hit them for it. Does a grip of damage too. So that's kind of like a nice little paradigm to have. Not ultra risky. None of these things are that bad. The low is -13, the power crush is 13, etc. These are pretty good options to have from a situation like this that just comes and goes so fast. Really good stuff. The other way to get into this stance is from the new Miare stance and hold forward. Same thing. So about Miare. You get into this the same way as Genjutsu. You can do back 2-1 and hold backwards instead. Forward, forward 2 as well. You hold backwards to go into this stance. Jun recovers health while she's standing there blinking like that, very, very slowly. And from this stance, there's only 3 things. 1 is this big launcher. Got some nice evasion to it, that can help. 2 is this laser cannon. Look at that. Look how far downtown I was for that. Look at that. What? That move is so cool. Does a ton of damage. As you can see, it was a heat engager when it hit the first time. Mine is like 20 on blocks, so you don't want to just do this like right up here. You know what I mean? You don't want to just go for that and get blocked. But it is out there. Like, you could find weird opportunities to just, you know, end up in this stance and like, come on, come get me. And boom, laser cannon. The third option is 1+2, which if you recognize is Izumo. A homing move that's a high, that's plus a ton. That's the only other thing you can do. Oh, and you can go back into Genjutsu. And you can sidestep to get out of the stance. Or you can just cancel into crouch. So Miare is kind of very situational. I don't know how often you really need this as a launcher. But, I mean, you can bait the opponent to coming at you, and you might run under one of their attacks. Cool. And if you think they're going to just sit there and keep their distance, bang. So you have this toolkit. It's just a very weird one. You'll find your ways to use it. It's actually got some really good combo uses, too. There's just a lot of things to figure out. The way these moves were designed is very weird in appearance, but they're good. Trust me. Once you figure it out, it all sounds great. As we talked about, back 2-1 and forward, forward 2 transition into this. You can also do this forward 1+2 attack. If that hits them, she automatically goes into the stance. You can see if she blocks it, nothing happens. So this one, you get a nice advantage there. If you happen to hit them with that, notice it does 0 damage, but it staggers them off of you. When you're in heat mode, that becomes a full-on parry for what it's worth. Yeah. And the last one is the hop kick. When that hits, it automatically goes into this stance. So you'll see during the combo most of the time, you just go right into Genjutsu and do 4. Miare's a little bit weird there. I don't know. Anyway, you'll get used to it. Miare is short and sweet. 1 and 2 is all you got. You're good to go. And lastly is Izumo. We've seen this move, this high homing attack that leads into the stance. This is the same like motion, but totally different ways to get into it. You can't get into it from the same way as other stuff before. It's all very different. This is just up 2. This is probably the simplest way to just throw that out. Because the problem used to be is this. You would do back 2-1 into Izumo, and this is mid, high, high. And like, you're just never going to catch anybody with that. Now, you can just spring it on them, or you can do this, which leads to Izumo. You have mids that go into it. Very cool stuff. So, inside Izumo, few changes. 1-1 is this. That's going to be one of your primary combo tools. Nice big knockdown, natural combo. 1-2 is pretty much the same. You get that slap, just like in the last game. Just doesn't have a bound move anymore. That's unsafe, but the knockdown is pretty good. 1-1 is a high and obviously safe. So you do have high mid in there. Izu 2 is that big launcher that it always used to be. Right? Mid, crushes a lot of stuff. Very risky, -13. -13 actually isn't that bad. This is a pretty good move. That's pretty good overall. -13, I'll take it. 1-1. Right? Party time. Pretty good move. What's new to Izumo is 3 is that. Safe jump kicks, also a heat engager. Bang, bang. There's your +17 run up. Izumo has this 4-1 hell sweep, same as it always was. Nice crush properties. If they want to jab, that'll go underneath, stuff like that. Boom. Now 2 new additions is 1+2. Well, 1+2 was always there. That was your basic bound move before. 1+2 is now a power crush. Again, as we talked about in Genjutsu, if they want to get real jabby and try to stop you, this will eat up power crush, or power crush will eat up whatever they do. Bang, they're going to wish they hadn't. The final option is forward 1+2. Homing move. Very fast. Safe on block. Gotta like that. It's not a counter hit launcher, but I think you get plus 14 there, but you do get to hit him for free. So that's it for Izumo. Most of the same stuff, the mid launcher, the hell sweep, and now there's a power crush and a homing to round out the kit. So the ways to get into Izumo now are all totally different. For all the moves that use this Izumo strike, this spinning move, they are all plus 6 on block and plus 11 on hit when they go into Izumo. So if this is on hit, you can see where I'm plus 11, and if it's blocked, I'm 6. That applies to all of these standard Izumo strikes. So when you have a 13 frame startup and you're already plus 6, you have a lot of dangerous options out of Izumo. There's several ways to go into it that do not use that strike, but leave it into it anyway, which is kind of unique. Forward 1 is a weird little chop thing, but this is also Izumo stance. You can see it's plus 9 on hit and 0 on block. So still pretty good. If you're doing this, those are 13. They can interrupt you, sure, but do they want to? Because you have power crushes, etc., etc. So forward 1, excuse me, then 1-1, same thing, boom, boom, into Izumo. 1-2-2, the third hit is that Izumo strike, same as up plus 2, and forward 3-2. Same Izumo strike, boom, right into stance. And the last options we talked about is Miare, 1 plus 2, same spinning thing. So all of those are the new ways to go into Izumo stance. But I think are all really good because you have this thing right away that you can pop on them and be plus as hell, or you have some weird new mids. You've got basic strings that you can actually use. Cool little bonus feature. Counter hit, guaranteed. How about that? So that's pretty good. Izumo was greatly redesigned in how you get into it, but works about the same.